tape, the only one the public at least has seen. How does it change the equation? It's very, very emotional. Obviously, it's a wife witnessing her husband's killing. Fox News senior judicial analyst Judge Anna Napolitano joining us on the phone. Judge, as you know, there's a delay in getting whatever the police have out to the public. Is that a wise thing, or is it prejudicial? How do you describe the delay and why we're seeing one?
The reason for the delay, Neil, is a recently enacted statute by the legislature of North Carolina and signed by Governor McCrory, which permits the police to delay indefinitely the release of their evidence in a case like this. It's a very, very ill-advised statute, because no matter what is in that tape, which only the police and the family have seen, it gives the impression that there's something the police want to hide. Steve Harrigan's description of the wife's tape, which of course we've all seen, is right on the mark, and that tape is harrowing, and that's going to inflame the crowd. And if the police have a version of these events that tempers the effect of that, they ought to release it. And even if their version of events supports it, they ought to release it, because it's ignorance on the part of the crowd of what the evidence is that is arousing the crowd and causing the death of innocents and the destruction of property and the immobility of parts of Charlotte.
You know, it is a very emotional tape, as you said, Judge, and it is going to get a lot of people upset. I mean, whatever your thoughts on whether, whether Scott had a gun or not, he's dead. His wife witnessed his death. So for people who are angry, it's not going to matter, right?
Well, you're right in that they are angry, and they will be angry that he was dead. And look, the tape that the wife took does not show the actual shooting, but it gives the impression that a mentally impaired person, unarmed, was shot in cold blood by the police. Now, if they have some evidence to show another version of it, they better get that out there, or these things are going to get even worse. And when they hide evidence, look, when you hide something, you give the impression to the people from whom you're hiding it that it's going to make you look worse, and that's why you're hiding it. The situation is going from one where it might have been calm to one where it's going to be exacaberted radically.
Yeah, and it breeds cynicism, right? And conspiracy theories, because in a final frame shot here, where he's lying on the ground, Scott's lying on the ground, a few feet from his body is a gun, and already I've heard people commenting on that. So, oh, it had to be a plant. They just put a gun there, and so here we go.
Well, look, if the tape shows that it was reasonable for the police to believe that he had a gun and would use it, then they are legally justified in using deadly force. But if there's no rational basis to believe that he had a gun or was going to use it, then they were not justified in using deadly force. Add to that what we now know is the wife saying, A, there's no gun, B, he's had traumatic brain injury. We don't even know if he could understand what the police were saying to him. So
or that he could hear her
very quickly.
Or that he could hear her. She was outside the vehicle a good ways there. So,
correct.
It's sad all the way around. Judge, very good of you to come on. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Q, do you have any idea where we're going?
Touch me. Yeah, I know where you're going.
Where are we going?
We're going to beat your ass if you don't leave me alone. That's where we're going.
Okay, so where we're going, I don't think anybody knows where they're going right now. I think they're just marching all over town.
Well, it was believed there was going to be a curfew last night from midnight to 6 a.m., and Judge Jeanine Pirro joins us right now. What do you make of, as it turns out, the curfew was not enforced. As long as everybody was peaceful, they could stick around a bit.
Right. Last night was more about protests than it was about riots. I mean, but I think that what the police have done is they've made a decision that we're going to try to be as low-key here as possible so that it doesn't appear that there is this fight going on, and although it was horrific what happened on Wednesday night was horrific. I think all Americans needed to take stock of the rioters. I mean, these were not protesters. They were rioters. They were people who were tearing the fabric of our community apart. They were anarchists.
There were a lot of out-of-town agitators. The cops say down there 70% of the people they arrested had out-of-town ID.
Right. Is that any surprise? I mean, what these people do is they go around the country to make trouble. And it's the people in the community who suffer. The African-American community. The African-Americans who were victims of their own crime, of black-on-black crime. And what they're doing now is they're disrupting a society, and they're disrupting the, you know, the peaceful society that people want. And they're creating their own narrative.
Judge, what are they protesting? Because in the beginning, remember, it was Black Lives Matter. It was, they felt like black people were getting killed by white cops. But here in Charlotte, it's a black officer.
It's a black cop, a black person who was shot. What they want is just to make trouble. You see, they need this narrative for the election. This is all about the election. Black Lives Matter and this whole movement funded by Soros is all about the Democratic election, giving the Democrats some reason to join together to come out and vote for the Democratic Party. It's why these illegals who were supposed to be deported were given citizenship. It's why there is this movement to get people to vote and sign up to be citizens. That's what's going on right now. It's all about the election.
Judge, what could be the reason why the body cam camera and the dash cam camera video is not out? What could be the reason there?
Well, the reason that it's not out, first, Brian, think about the fact. You've got the DA's office. You've got the State Bureau of Investigation. You've got the DOJ, the FBI, and Internal Affairs. That's a minimum of 5 law enforcement organizations or agencies looking at this case. There will be a grand jury investigation as sure as I'm sitting here right now. I've done these cases. The one thing you don't want is to get the evidence out so people start tailoring their testimony to what they think they see in the video, or someone putting themselves in the situation. The video will then make it clear what happened. If some person comes out and says, I saw this. Well, the video doesn't show that. It's a truth-telling system where we can say who's telling the truth and who isn't. And by the way, the law is clear. They passed a law saying October 1, you cannot get this without a court order. There's a reason for that.
Well, we're not up to October 1st.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to talk to the governor about that in a little bit. But first, you mentioned the election. Hillary Clinton not doing well with millennials. And you look at the four-way races, Gary Johnson's got 10% pretty much across the country.
Right.
She's doing her best, including sitting between two ferns with a very funny guy with some hard questions. Watch this.
What happens if you become pregnant? Are we going to be stuck with Tim Kaine for 9 months? How does this work?
I could send you some pamphlets that might help you understand.
Are you down with TPP?
I'm not down with TPP.
No, you're supposed to say, yeah, you know me. Like the hip-hop group.
Don't tell me what to say.
Any regrets over losing the Scott Baio vote?
Not a one.
So it wasn't heartbreaking that...
No.
Yeah, but Chachi. What's the best way to reach you? Email?
If looks could kill. She seems to be a good sport there.
Well, you know, she's a good sport. Really, the woman, if she's a good sport, she should be out campaigning. This was time so that she could get 3... Why? Because, first of all, she's not up to the job. She doesn't have the stamina. What she's doing is she's got these 3 days off to prepare for the debate, and this was time so that this would get the attention it needed to get while, you know, Donald Trump is out there meeting with people, tens of thousands at a clip, and, you know, she figures she'll get the attention through this.
I think Donald Trump would be great on this. However, the producer came out and said that Donald Trump doesn't have, as his too thin a skin to
And he hasn't invited him.
Yeah.
Well, he hasn't invited him. I mean, thin skin. I mean, the guy, nobody would be able to mess my hair up on national television.
Yeah,
but you know,
tried it once. You hit him.
Huh? Did you try it? Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't think you didn't try it. I mean, it's kind of hard at this point.
By the way, we should also point out the thing between the two ferns was actually taped on the day it was announced that she had, I think the day she was diagnosed with pneumonia.
Yeah, she didn't look too good there either. You know, she hasn't looked too good lately. She looks very low energy. It's almost a Jeb Bush thing going on with Hillary.
Right. Well, let's see how she looks on Monday, because she's going to be out in public that night.
Oh, she'll be fired up, I'm sure. She'll have 4 days of rest. It's like a vacation.
We're going to be watching you this weekend.
Yes, on Justice this weekend, I go to Modell's. You know, all this issue about Hillary and her health and the age of the presidential candidates. I went to Modell's to find out what people think about whether or not our candidates are in good health.
Gotta go to Moe's. We watch a lot of commercials.
Yeah.
All right. Judge,
Steve,
thank you very much.
Saturday
This,
night.
of course, comes just days after a gunman opened fire at a shopping mall in Burlington, Washington. 5 people there were killed in about 1 minute. The suspect was in court today. Police say he has already confessed, and Maria Villarreal is following this.
Arjan Shaitan entered a packed courtroom filled with grieving family members.
Do you understand the charges?
Yes, sir.
Shaitan, charged on 5 counts of premeditated murder, has still given no motive into Friday night's attack. Shaitan is a naturalized U.S. citizen from Turkey and has expressed an interest in guns through social media. His stepfather, David Marshall, spoke after the hearing.
Arjan has had mental health issues that we have been trying to work on with him. That's all I can say.
Just before 7 on Friday night, 911 calls poured in from mall customers. They described a man walking into Macy's with a gun. Court documents describe Shaitan's alleged attack. The suspect initially shot a juvenile victim near some clothing racks. He moved toward the makeup counter where he shot the adult male victim, then shot 3 adult female victims. The entire attack took 1 minute. 24 hours after the killings, police found Shaitan 30 miles from the crime scene. The victims included Sari Lada, a 16-year-old cancer survivor, Chuck Egan, a maintenance worker at Boeing, Belinda Galdi, a probation officer, and her 95-year-old mother, Beatrice Dotson. This memorial continues to grow. Some who have come here knew the victims. Most are complete strangers moved by the loss. Scott, Shaitan's next court hearing is later in October.
Maria Villarreal for us tonight. Maria, thank you.
200 اسم وديناهم، واحد منهم اللي قتله وديناهم للمحافظ، رمى الملف وحكى لنا هذا الملف كرتون ما في منه.
أنا جاي احتجاج قوي وإدانة قوية، جاي حزين على الأردن وحزين على مستقبل الأردن، وعندي إحباط وشعور بالغضب على اللي حدث.
حتى تم تصفيته سياسيا وفشلت الحكومة الأردنية في المحافظة على الأمان أو أمان حياته، الأمان على حياته، ووقعوه على الأمن تبع حياته في قصر العدل أنه مسؤول عن حياته عن أمانه الشخصي، والحكومة الأردنية فشلت في أنها تحافظ الأمان على البلد.
For many Muslims in the US, 2016 has been a painful year. And for Muslims in New Jersey, the pain is particularly acute.
The climate is clearly toxic right now. And in view of these incidents of terrorism and violence, sometimes associated with Muslims, it gets worse.
They're facing renewed scrutiny after a community member is suspected of carrying out militant attacks. Just days after the 15th anniversary of 9/11, bombs exploded in New York and New Jersey. Police have charged a New Jersey resident born in Afghanistan, Ahmed Khan Rahami, in those blasts. On the campaign trail, the Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump is vocal about issues of immigration, especially when it comes to Muslims.
I do want surveillance. I will absolutely take database on the people coming in from Syria if we can't stop it.
In Basking Ridge, New Jersey, that rhetoric is making a difference in an unexpected way.
Donald Trump probably is a blessing to the Muslims. I know it's strange, right, to hear that from a Muslim, but he's a blessing to the Muslims because he's made Muslims become more politically astute, more politically aware.
In New Jersey alone, the number of anti-Muslim hate crimes reported to the government is increasing. 4 were reported in all of 2014, 14 were reported last year.
We feel that for Muslims, if we are concerned about our rights being protected or not being protected, it is up to us to be a part of the process where we can have a say.
A quick gauge of the political clout of American Muslims is just weeks away when they head to the ballot box in the November general election. Tracy Brown, Associated Press.